there, happy Tuesday. Thanks for joining me here tonight. We are making another granny square quilt block tonight. Here are some of the latest ones. They end up completely random. I'm excited to make another. So thank you guys for joining me. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for the beginning crafter. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. And it's a time when we can relax and craft for about an hour. So I work on projects from beginning to end, so you can be part of the whole process and ask your questions and come sew and stitch with me. So you guys, we are continuing the Granny Squares quilt. So last night we got our 18th block done, which is halfway. So we got halfway through the blocks last night. There is still a lot to do. There's all the sashing, those are inside borders, and we have an outer border that seems pretty detailed. So that's some exciting stuff to come, but we got 18 more blocks to do first. So let's do another one tonight. Thank you guys all for joining me. Be sure to check out the new embroidery of the month that came out on the 1st. I think I have it here still. Yep. So it is the Your Sweet pattern, and we are going to be doing, during our live stream, we're going to be doing this thread painting, the needle painting, or the silk shading. So those are 3 names for that style where you just kind of paint with thread. We'll be working on that a little bit, and there's also a version that's a lot easier. It is chain stitch version. We might actually stitch this one that week as well. So that'll be the 3rd week of the month. So that'll come up in no time. These months just go by. All right, thanks again for joining me, everyone. I'm going to get started here. Okay, here are all of our bags again. We have our strips all in different lengths. We have a strip that we are working on last night, and I think where we were going to start tonight, we have one more to sew onto here before we can start it, but we are going to change our needle, or see if we could change the needle on the machine here. So here's a little farther away. Here is my 1938 crinkle finish Kenmore sewing machine. So we're going to go ahead and attempt to change this needle. It was sounding a little kerchunky, if you remember last night. It was just, we won't really be able to tell, but it seemed just a little bit dull. So I have this little kind of bin of needles, and I think we have this guy on top. I also have a little glass jar of old needles that I've just been filling up, so I will put that one in there. But I just have these universal needles. A lot of times these universal needles or modern needles will work on these old machines. So that's nice. Get that in there. Okay, the one difference between this machine and some of the newer machines is that usually in a newer machine, the flat side of the needle here faces to the back. This faces to the side, and now that I'm thinking of it, I don't remember what side it goes to, so we'll have to see how that goes. I'm facing it towards the left to start out with. I think that's the way it goes. I'm sure the machine will let me know if I do it wrong. It kind of feels like it's sliding up against there. I'm not, now that I think of it, I don't know if I've changed this needle more than once on this machine. Okay, this seems like it fits better. So I put the flat side. Yeah, that's going more down. It was hitting the side a little, and I can tell someone's done that before. This is the original foot that came with this. There's a scratched little mark there, and that's about where this was when I had it faced the wrong way. So I have the flat side facing to the right on this, and it feels right. I think that's correct. But yeah, in a modern machine, it would be facing the back. So let's see if that super duper duper subtle kerchunking sound goes away now. I think the needle was just getting a bit dull. Okay, you guys, next up, we just have this last strip to put on here. So that's our 7-inch strip. We'll get our 7-inch bag here. Let me just see your comments here. Thank you guys again for joining me this Tuesday. Oh, Marianne finished another unfinished an unfinished project. That's awesome. A UFO. Oh, Colleen says she's a sewing machine needle snob. I use the top stitch because it's sharp for woven fabric. Oh, interesting. And it has a bigger eye for me to thread. Oh, that's a good tip. So a top stitch needle is usually a little fatter, I think, too. So if you're using a fabric that is maybe a little bit more delicate, that top stitch needle is going to make a little bit bigger hole, but that's smart. Yeah, it would have a bigger eye and nice and sharp. All right, this is the last one. I'm closing my eyes and choosing randomly. Usually I have to kind of pick them apart. They're kind of stuck together, I feel like. All right, we're going with this one. Ooh, that's another dark one. That'll be pretty. Okay, so that's where the randomness happens. We've already chosen our colors and ooh, I think I tied a knot here. And just like really kind of curated our colors and cut our strips. But after that, I've just been kind of picking at random. I'm going to start with a little leader here. Okay, let's get this last one on. And then we will, instead of using a leader to get this piece off, because we're going to need to cut it next, we're going to actually start our next grouping of strips. That's always fun, that we can start the next one while we're working on this one. This one's a bit wrinkly, but that's okay. Line that up a little bit better. So this one will be interesting. It's so much light. It's 3 super light ones, like probably some of the lightest ones, and then these 2 dark ones. That'll be kind of fun. All right, I'm gonna kind of go off the side there, and now let's start our next strips. Oh, Deborah, that's awesome. Deborah says, now that's good information about needles. Another reason I love tuning in every night. Ah, that's sweet. All right. Oh, what am I doing? I'm reading your guys' comments and trying to pick a random strip here, but this first row is not random. They're all teal, so I don't need to be swirling them up. This is the one that we're gonna randomly pick here. Okay. Got used to swirling the fabrics around. I need 2 hands to pick again. All right, whatever this one is. My eyes are still closed in case I'm holding 2. All right, this one. Ooh, you know what? I think this is one of my favorite ones to put right next to the teal. I think that is just so pretty together. Awesome. I'm excited about that. Amy says her power just came back on in New Jersey. Yes, all of you guys who are experiencing all the weather right now, I'm thinking of you. That's, you know, on top of with the coronavirus and everything, that is just gotta be scary. All right, so we're doing this strip again just so we can get this off the machine. See, here we go. We just have to snip that. So I'm not hearing it anymore. Are you guys? I don't hear that kerchunking, like that little bit of an extra like tap 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 as the needle goes through. So that makes me think that it was a dull needle. I mean, we haven't changed that needle in a while, so that would make sense. I think my machine is probably a lot happier. I still haven't cleaned or oiled the machine, so that needs to happen soon. And changing a needle or changing a bobbin is a good time to do that, and I didn't do it with either of those points, so we gotta do that soon. Oh, wow, I'm a little off here. Oh, okay, good, it just started getting off. All right, that's all we need to do. Let's snip this piece. There we go. So this is just going to sit here until we start sewing this, and then we'll be able to take it off the machine again. And this little feller. All right, let's trim this now. We'll get back over here. Oh, so Colleen is saying, okay, so I didn't know this. So Colleen is saying top stitch needles come in sizes also, so you can sew a fine weight fabric with them. Oh, that's good to know. I'm gonna look into that some more, Colleen. That's great information. So yeah, so just like get like a fine weight top stitch needle. That makes sense. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that again or more too. All right, let's see. So now we have all our sections sewn. You know, we got our 6, our 5, 4, 3, and 2, just coming from all our different size strips. And now I'm just going to go through and trim them all away. So let's get a rotary cutter. I had it out here. Where did it travel to? Oh, behind me. So here we are. And my cutting glove right here. All right, so let's trim these out one by one. So I'm not going to press this or anything yet, and this is going to be a pretty rough cut, but that's okay because we have enough on either side that even if I veer a little bit, it's not going to be a huge issue. So I'm just kind of aiming for that piece there. And then we'll stack all these and do our final trimming. All right, that'll do. Next, let's press these. We'll press them and then trim them. Getting ahead of myself. My brain always skips over pressing. And pressing is always what takes so long too, and it's why it's one of my least favorite parts. Okay, I'm gonna look up what way to press again. Okay, even we press the seam allowance away from the teal, and odd we press towards the teal. Even away from the teal. Okay, I always have to remember this every single time I do that. So this is an even strip. We're going to press this seam allowance away from the teal. Oh my gosh, so Deborah says the older machines need oiling every 8 hours of use according to everything I've been learning about them. Ugh, that is good information. That means basically that at the end of every week here, we should be oiling it. And I am definitely not doing that. So maybe tomorrow we take a little bit of a look This one is oiled quite a bit different than, I'm going to do all the evens first, quite a bit different than my 70s Kenmore. So it might be fun to look at that. We can at least do some of the basic oiling. I don't know if I'll tip it all the way underneath. Maybe I should. That'd be kind of a fun little thing. Actually, you know what? It's Finish It Friday. We could just clean up all the machines and try and fix them. Although I don't know if I'll be able to fix the broken ones very well live. I think that's more of a sit with YouTube for the day and see if I can figure it out. Yeah, we should probably oil it a bit sooner maybe. So maybe we'll take a little bit of the time tomorrow and oil this machine at least. That's probably a good idea. Oh, Sue says I change my needle every 6 to 8 hours of sewing, but need to do better about oiling the machine. Dang, so I should, man, at minimum every 2 weeks here, I should be oiling and changing the needle. That's probably not a bad idea. Well, I know it's not a bad idea, but it's something, it's just another one of those things that I need to get into the habit of doing, and that's probably a smart one. Oh yes, that's right, Colleen. We were going to do a leader and ender Friday. I still would like to do that. It would feel good to get more head on that. So we'll oil this machine and take a look at it a little bit tomorrow, because I think we should. So tomorrow we might go a little later, because I'd like to still make one of these blocks. But yeah, let's oil it. We just did the bobbin, you know, on Friday, I think, and we just changed the needle. Might as well finish the trio, right? Let's do the oiling. That is something that I never used to do, but now I'm learning way more about the machines and trying to take care of them a lot more. So if you know anything about these vintage machines, I'd be happy to hear about them. But the more I learn about them, the more excited I get. You know, it's always a thrill when I'm able to fix something myself, especially, you know, when it's so expensive to bring it in. I'm trying to get this a little straighter. There we go. All right. I already know this one's going to be so cute. Let's trim them up. All right. So again, I'm just going to kind of align one of these teal lines on a rule line here, and I'm going to cross over one of the lines too, just because we're going to get that nice cut on one side, and then we'll rotate it around and trim out the rest. This is the nice part of doing it this way, is I can cut all of these all at once, and that's way nicer than doing it all separately. Cutting is my other kind of least favorite thing to do. That and the pressing. Oh, we can scooch this over. Last one. All right, let's get the glove on and we'll trim this. All right, so we're just getting that super nice edge on one side. Because remember, we just kind of cut this willy-nilly. Okay, great. I'm going to rotate this around. And now I will cut the 1.5 inch pieces carefully here. All right, one. We only need 4. So there's going to be a bit extra in theory. I just cut that hedgehog's face in half. Okay, last one. All right, done with that. Let's lay this thing out. Okay. So we also need, at this point, the rest of our squares. We need 4 of these. 1, 2. I think that's 4. And then we need 1 of our center squares again. Once we run out of these, then we're done. We know that. So that's something to look forward to. A smaller and smaller stack of these middle squares. All right. The middle square and the sixers, the ones that have 6 in, those we are going to set aside for later. 6. All right, I'm going to just shimmy these to the side. And these we're going to do our stacks, our little stair steppers. Lost one. Oh, nope, it's right here. Okay, so we're going to do our stair step with 2. The teal, or whatever your outside color is going to be the thing that goes up the stairs. So, you don't want it like this accidentally. And that's an easy mistake to make with this first one, going like this, but you want to make sure that the teal is what's stair stepped. All right, so I'm going to just make the other 3 of those. Look how dark it's going to be right in the middle. That's kind of fun. Almost did that mistake just there. All right, and then we'll sew all these together. We're going to go speedy. We'll see if we want to rearrange any of these, but so far they're looking... The only reason I would rearrange it is if there were 4 hedgehogs in a row or something. This is kind of fun though, part of a body of a zebra, and then you got the hedgehog there. It's kind of silly. Okay, so there's our 4 bits. I'm going to just go around the first columns of each of them first, and then adding a column each time. Just going around and around and around, and when we want to get all of it off the machine, we will sew on another strip. So we're constantly adding to the strips that will be our next block, tomorrow's block. All right. I'm gonna go in clockwise order, starting from right here, I think. All right, right sides together. All right, I gotta remember I'm going clockwise. I'm gonna try and keep them in order this time. So I have a little bit of the selvage here. I think I had just just enough left to make these squares, so I thought I'd just use it. Oh, Christy says that she finished her most recent project and doesn't have anything to do tonight. Yeah, starting up another one, another unfinished thing. That's sometimes you need a little breather in between. You should oil your machines or something right now. That's what we're gonna do tomorrow. But that'd be a good interim thing to do. All right, I'm gonna take these off one at a time as I sew on the next one. Kind of what I did last night. All right, let's nest these seams together. The seam that matches there, I am going to butt those seams up against each other like so. And then we will sew that seam. All right, next up, still going clockwise. So we talked about this a while ago. Let me know if this is right. I know someone here knows because we've talked about it. So if I want to get the seams to nest a little bit better, I point the upper seam away from me and the lower seam towards me? Is that the direction? Because then the bottom kind of pulls on it and it pulls kind of those two folds together. I think that's the way it goes. So I'm gonna give that a go. Oh, Christy, that's totally understandable. That's where I was like last year at this time. I had never, or I don't know, since I started these YouTube things, I never oiled my machine before, and I had been using it for years and years and years and years and years. I would just bring it in, and the guy would do it. Okay, so yes, Jolene is saying yes, top away. Okay, good. All right. It was feeling like this was working better. I'm going to try and do this the whole time, where the top seam is pointing away from me, and the bottom seam is pointing towards me. That way the feed dogs will be pulling on the bottom, like they do, and it's going to be like pulling this fold towards this fold, and I think that makes sense. So top away, bottom towards. I just got to remember that. So I will be flipping them a little bit differently than I was last night, but I'm running an experiment here. So let's see if we get our seams nested a little bit better tonight. But yeah, so we'll oil the machine tomorrow. I would definitely Google, Christy, oh yeah, YouTube's great too. So I would Google your machine. So somewhere on your machine, there's probably some sort of model number or telltale something to look it up online. And that's not always easy. There's not always tons of information, especially if it's a vintage machine. But you should be able to look it up. And one thing I found super duper helpful with my 70s machine was that there was instructions. Like you can download the manual. If you don't have the manual, you may be able to download the manual somewhere. And I totally recommend doing that because it should have a picture, some sort of picture of your machine with all the points that you should oil it on. And without me knowing anything about oiling, that was so helpful to have, to see all those points. I don't think I have something so clear with this machine, but from doing it on the other machine, I kind of get the idea of like, oh, you want to do it where these parts kind of will be rubbing against each other, or a lot of times there's like little dots in places, like little holes, and a lot of times those are meant to put the oil in, and then it will take care of the rest of the job for you. I'll try and look up these instructions. Right, so here's where I'm changing it around from what I'm used to. I'm going to try and find these instructions again for this machine, and since I haven't oiled this machine as often, we'll try and find those and see what we can see in there, and do a little oiling on this tomorrow. Ooh, I veered a little bit there, but that's okay. That'll be cut off. And you can get sewing machine oil just at like Joann's or any of those places, I think. What I don't know much about, or anything except for that I've seen it before online, is greasing your machine. So there's some spots in some of these old machines that there's actually a glob of grease. I do not know really what to do with that, and I don't know where it would be on this machine, or when is it dirty, when is it clean, when is it too much, when is it not enough. I don't know anything about that, but I know it's a thing because I'm in a bunch of vintage sewing machine Facebook groups, and all of them are talking about it here and there. So that I don't know anything about. So there's definitely more to learn. For sure. I did not go in the right order. I was going to keep going clockwise, and I just totally stopped. So we're going to just grab this one and do this. But yeah, so like I said, more to learn. Oh, so Marlene says you should read the book The Sewing Machine. It is a historical novel about one of the first sewing machine factories. Oh, that sounds up my alley. I will definitely look that up, Marlene. Oh, okay. Okay, so Beth is saying, I thought last night about the towards and away, like what I'm trying to do. Okay, away, even. Oh, and towards odds. Okay, away, even. Wait a sec, now I'm confused. Oh, I want them to pull. Wait a sec. Oh, this way. I was going to go like this. There. Wait, no. How do I get this away from me? The top away from me. How did I do this one? Oh, that was towards me. Okay. I do not know how I'm getting this away and towards me. I need this to be... Oh, like this. Here we go. Sheesh Louise. Okay. No, that's still towards me. I don't know. I think it's always gonna be weird. Oh, she's talking about the pressing. Oh, I get that. That makes sense. A away, even. Oh, A away, even, and towards odd. Well, Beth, that makes so much sense. Away, even, and towards odd. Okay, so I'm going to remember it that way. Like the two for towards odd. Okay, got it. But now I have this other conundrum. I can't get this to be... I want the bottom to be pointed towards me and the top to be pointed away like that. The only way I can do that is if I sew on the left side. And I don't know how to do that. So to nest these seams, I don't know how I'm going to get these right. So I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing anymore. We're going to just sew. But yeah, I was thinking I could turn these around and sew the opposite ways to get that nesting, but my plan was foiled. Oh well. Okay, Nolene says grease is only used once in a blue moon. If a machine has been like totally restored and parts washed with spirits, oh, then you would need to re-grease it. Okay, so so that's interesting. So a lot of times you see people who get these machines and they're just solid. Like, they're so rusted or they're so unused that it's a machine. All of the gears and everything are just frozen. Like, they're frozen together. So what some people have to do for that is they have to like break it apart almost. So they like with almost sometimes with like a hammer get all the parts separated, and then they get completely cleaned. Or sometimes it's just so dirty. You know, some of these sewing machines, I mean, people just leave them sitting out. You know, they're nothing to them, right? These sewing machines, so they just let them sit around and rust and whatever. So to really restore something like that, yeah. So restorers take them completely apart and then have to clean them in like spirits or like another like oil like that. And then so each little part is super clean. So then it's okay. So that makes sense. So then you got to do the grease stuff. Okay, Colleen says the gears get grease. Metal to metal is oil. Oh, okay. Gears get grease. Metal to metal is oil. Okay, that is something I can have in my head. That makes sense to me. Gears get greased. Metal on metal gets oiled. Okay, I like that. Like I need the logic of it all, and that helps me out. So yeah, so we'll take a look at this machine and see what's going on with it tomorrow. Like I said, I haven't done a lot of that with this machine yet. Again, we are kind of primarily using this machine right now because my normal machine needs to be fixed a little bit. I don't know. I think I saw a YouTube video that might help me. Some screw that's loose in it, but I remember looking before and not seeing anywhere that would be tightened. So, but yeah, because that one, the feed dogs don't come all the way up or stay all the way up. I haven't been able to use that one in a while, so we've been kind of defaulting to this machine, which I love. It's fun to get to know this new old machine. But yeah, I haven't dug deep into oiling and all that yet. So that'll be kind of a fun thing. So yeah, if we do all that, I'm not sure we'll make it through a whole block, but maybe we'll just stay extra long tomorrow night, because it's going to take at least a good half hour to, tip this machine up and oil it and all that probably, and just take a look at it again. So we might go a half hour or so over tomorrow night, I'm thinking. Because we already go over with these granny squares. But, it would be a bummer to stop a granny square in the middle of it, so... Maybe it'll go twice as fast if the machine is oiled and happy. That's a possibility. What I am curious is, this is a loud machine, right? I mean, it's loud compared to my other machine. Let's say it that way. I'm curious if oiling it will quiet it down a little. I suspect the noise is really from the motor. The motor being loud. But it'll be interesting oiling it again. How it feels. When you use a machine like every night like this, even those little subtle things, like last night, that kerchunking, that needle sounded or something just sounded, there's a little extra sound than there should be, or than what I've heard in the past, so, yeah, changing the needle got rid of that. wondering if it'll sound different tomorrow. All right, 2 more, and then we are done with these, and we'll just sew on another strip to get this off the machine. We will press these different segments and start sewing it all together. We did clip these all together beforehand once, and that did kind of make it so fast, but I don't know. I kind of prefer just putting it together while it's on the machine. Wow, sanding down the wheel though, before I came on last night, that really, I mean, I'm pressing the pedal and it's going right away. It's not spinning and spinning and doing nothing. So making that wheel just rough really, really helped a ton. I have to remember to do that every time I wind a bobbin, probably, because all that spinning just smooths it out. All the fun little things you learn. I got that, my grandma's old sewing machine here. Not really that old, it's from the 60s. I think it's from the 60s, but that one's gonna be a new adventure of figuring it out. All right, you guys, we need to sew our next strip on so we can get these guys off the machine. I have the next size down. Let's spin it around here, and I'm going to take whatever this one is. My eyes are still closed. Ooh, all right, so we got a little zebra, that blue, or not zebra, this is that, like, cat fur stripe. That'll be pretty. Ooh, we got a lot of, like, nice blues going with this one. Gonna be pretty. All right. Line everything up. Okay. One last little bit, I think, will get us there. All right, so I'll just go off the side a little bit there. That'll be ready for our next bit of sewing. All right, let's press these buggers. All right, getting our pressing mat out. Let's snip them. They're in their pretty chain still. Okay, so for these we're pressing away from our 5-piece. Ooh, look how light. This is gonna be like light, 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 and then super dark in the middle. And then we still have that like red dot on the inside. It's kind of funny. All right. Pressing away. Pressing the seam allowances away. I should say. Okay, next. Oh, okay, Deborah, I'm just looking at comments again. Deborah says the gears need to be cleaned and lubed every 6 months in the featherweight. Ooh, that probably means that's how often I should probably do that too. Okay, so they are cleaned with kerosene. I need to get some of that. I think we've had this conversation at some point before about finding kerosene, and I couldn't. Last time we were at Menards or wherever we were, Home Depot. No, probably Menards. I don't think we could find any. But yeah, so we'll take a look. You guys can give me advice tomorrow on what we see with the machine, because I am definitely still learning all this stuff about the care and maintenance of especially these vintage machines. Oh, Betty Jo's asking how many different colors did I use? I'm not sure. I know I didn't use a different color for each strip. I did more than one. So like when it said something like, like cut 36 35-inch strips. I did not cut 35 different pieces of fabric. I'm kind of using some scraps that I have for this whole project. Some, wide scraps that I had. So I used those. And I did actually repeat colors quite a bit because I didn't want it to get so sporadic. But it also looks amazing if you use a lot of different fabrics. It looks even more like patchworky. So I don't actually know exactly how many I used, but I'm curious now. I might have to try and sleuth it out here. All right, we're adding back our 6 pieces and our center. And all right, now we just have to sew these 3 rows, and then we'll sew the 3 rows together. It's coming along. We have another one with a dark center there. That's kind of neat. Okay, first bit. Yeah, I would have to sew on, if I wanted these to go away, I'd have to sew on the other side of the foot. Yeah, that's the only way I'd be able to do that. I don't know what the 1/4 inch allowance is on. Seam allowance placement would be probably the same. Yeah, I don't really sew. I always keep the raw edge on this side. I don't sew on the other side like this, but I don't know. Maybe that's like ambidextrous sewing or something. I should learn how to sew on that side a little bit more maybe. I wonder if that's a thing. That sometimes you sew on the one and sometimes you sew on the other. The other edge? I don't know. Okay, row number 2 is just these guys. And here we go. Not great, Robin. Robin's asking how John's aunt and family are doing. Well, his aunt is now on a ventilator and at a new hospital 3 hours away from the rest of her family, so not good. So we are trying to keep track with what's happening there. not good. I don't know how his cousin's doing. His aunt, uncle, and cousin, young cousin, got COVID. I guess his uncle's pretty much recovered, but aunt is now 3 hours away on a ventilator somewhere, which is scary. And I don't know how his cousin is doing, but last I heard she was kind of in and out of the hospital. Oh yeah, Catherine. I'm just thinking more so because I was trying to get my the tops point the like top edges when I nest the seams, the top edges point away and the bottom edges point towards. That doesn't work. Like no matter how I rotate it, it doesn't work sometimes when I want to sew on the right edge. The only way it would work is if I sewed on the left edge. So I wonder if that's a thing people do is when they want to point these away from them and the bottom towards if they sew on the other side sometimes. Yeah, thanks, Barbara. I know that it's just gotta be the worst. It's gotta be just so scary. So I don't know. It's just, and you know, it's North Dakota. It's small town North Dakota. It's not some big city or anything. And you know, college aged cousin and stuff too. So young. I don't know. Scary. All right, let's put these together. Deborah says sewing on the left seems weird, like stroking a cat the wrong way. Yeah, you only want to do that with the right cat. That's funny. Yep, Pamela, she's the three of them are the first, like, kind of immediate, I mean, I guess not immediate, but, like, close family members, I guess. That we know directly, so yeah, it's scary. Down in the top away. So Jane, so how do I, yeah, so with the top, with the bottom is pointed towards me and the top is away, but how do I do that on like every other one that I sew? It's going to be pointed in the wrong direction. So I'm wondering how the sides that are wrong, the only way I could do it is if I sewed on the left side, which would be super weird. All right, last one. So I have to sew another, I get to sew another strip after this one because we'll need to get this off the machine again. Like, yeah, right now, for example, I'm pointed the wrong way. Like I want this seam is pointed towards me, the top seam is pointing towards me, and the bottom is away, and I actually want that the opposite direction. But the only way I'd be able to do that is to flip it and be sewing on the left side. So that's what my current train of thought conundrum that I wonder if some magic person has a in quilt land has a solution to. Or am I just getting super finicky of like, oh, it'd be great if every time I had this pointed away, and I don't know. Details, weird details of the depths of sewing. So even if I sew from the background, like the blue towards the center, the opposite of what I'm doing, no matter how I twist it, it's always going to be going the wrong direction on every other one. So even if I did that, it still wouldn't work. All right, anyway, I'm gonna get the next bit here. Let's see, we're on the fourth one. What will it be now? Okay, this one kind of fell into my hand. Oh, we got the Zahner Blaser paper again. I'm remembering that name a lot more now, that penmanship paper. This one's been popping up a lot. This is like an ombre. We're going from like the darkest to the lightest real quick here. That'll be kind of fun. We haven't had one in a while where we've gone light, dark, light, dark, light, dark. We've actually only had a couple that have ended up like that, I think. I'm excited to lay these all out. Start seeing all these all together. We will be over halfway though with the blocks after tonight. That's exciting. This will be block 19. You know, the one good thing about that we cut out everything for this project at the get-go, we'll be able to start sewing the sashing and everything right away because it's all cut out. I won't have to like go back and recut out more fabric. So that's exciting. All right, let's just go to the side and snip. All right, we're ready to press these. Our last little step here. All right, let's get these snipped. Let's do the center one first this time. So for this one, we're pressing towards the center. So I'm just going to go zoop with this side because they're all kind of going in that direction. We're just going to add to it again. So all towards the center, and we'll flip and do the same thing over here. All right, and let's just flip it around and get one more time. But turning it every other time, like it still ends up being the wrong way when you turn it, which is a little, just kind of goofy. Like, I don't know if I can show it here. So like, okay, so let's say this is the edge I'm sewing. See how the tops are pointed up? Or let's do this one because this is the one that's going in the wrong direction. So these seam allowances, we're sewing right here, right? These seam allowances are all going towards me, right? And I want them pointed away from me. So I'm thinking, oh, I'll flip it and sew the other way, or like, you know, let's rotate it and sew on the other side. So instead of sewing from the blue in, let's sew from the inside out, right? So we go like this. Hold on. So they're going towards me. And I sew, and this is the same seam, but flipped around. They're still going towards me, see? If I'm sewing, like this is the presser foot right here, and this is my edge. They're still going towards me, even if I decide to sew it the other way. They're still going towards me. See? That's the problem. The only way that it doesn't go towards me is if I now sew on the left edge, then they're pointing away from me. See, that's what I'm saying. I can't just flip it around. If I'm still always sewing with the seam allowance on the right, which is like the normal way of sewing, no matter how I flip it, it's always going to be wrong. So the only way it would work is if I all of a sudden sewed with a left edge. So that's what I'm talking about. It's a little like brain bender a little bit, I think. Because that's what I was thinking. Oh, I could just rotate it, and then they'd be going the other way. Well, but if I was pressing all in the same direction, then they wouldn't nest together. They wouldn't nest anymore. So, I mean, if I'm not going to try and nest them, then I would just probably press all the seams open to disperse the thickness of it. Because if I press them all in the same direction, then I will have the seam allowances and the fabric on one side, but on the other side it would just have the fabric. So there would only be 2 layers of fabric on one side, and then there would be like the 4 layers of fabric on the other side. So that's the 4 to 2 is a big difference. Those are hard to match up and really adds a bump to the fabric. So I think it's either press them open, which tons of people swear by, or I just keep doing what I'm doing, I guess. That's right, you're right, Luann. The instructions do it that way, aren't they? Yeah, so the instructions, I think that's right. The first one, we did press them in all the same direction, didn't we? And it was really bulky. We should look back at the instructions, and I should do one, because we've kind of veered away from that a little bit. I should do one exactly how the instructions say to do it again. Maybe Thursday, that's what we'll do, because that's going to take longer, and tomorrow I wanted to clean this machine as well. But yeah, we should try that again. We should try how it really is in the instructions. Maybe I missed something the first time, and yeah, we should do that. I'm sure the designer knows better, probably. That'd be good. It's time to go try that again. And because we've sewed a lot on this now, and we've learned a lot, and it'd be interesting to go back. But yeah, you're right. I remember them pressing all, and I remember we had a hard time getting it together, and that's when I decided to just do it nested seams like this. But maybe now, after doing it a little bit, maybe I will, like, the reasoning will appear to me by doing it again to the instructions. That's a good idea. We'll do an instructions review. I think it'll take a little longer, but that's fine. We'll do that on Thursday, though. Tomorrow we'll clean the machine and try and do another one of these, like how we're doing now. And yeah, Thursday, let's go back in time a little bit and look at those instructions again. It was maybe mean of me to start doing this a different way. But this way is playing towards my feelings of not wanting to press or cut a lot. I'm excited. Now I really do want to go try it again, how the instructions are. Okay, oh, I have to get this off the machine, which means time to sew another strip. Oh, that means Huh. That means I shouldn't sew strips like this for Friday's block because that's not done with strips like this. We do the first two strips, but then we cut off the 7 inches right away before sewing the next strip. So I'll have to read the instructions again and then keep that in mind as I'm sewing tomorrow. So I'll have to look at that. Okay. 14 inch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep. So Luann says, so Thursday, Mr. Seam Ripper might make an appearance. If we're lucky, I suppose. All right. Ooh, we got this little white one here. Cute. This one's got the little characters in. We're still doing this like a total ombre, aren't we? Because I think we're now at the lightest. This one is basically white fabric. Dark to light. I wonder what the next one's gonna be. We will, there's only one more strip to sew on here, and we will get that sewn tonight, too, because that will be the seam that we sew to get our full piece off the machine here. Okay, so I'm going to stay right here. Ah, looking cute. And let's match this piece up. Flip that around. Okay. Get in there. Last major seam for the night. Seam allowance, get over there. Oh, MK is saying, your way is the only reason I did this quilt. So I do, the differences come with sewing those strips together. So it is sew one strip, cut off 7 inches, sew the next strip, cut off another 7 inches, sew the next strip, cut another off 7 inches. So instead of doing all the strips at once, then chopping them all off, like how we've been doing, it's done all separately. And then I think it's pressed all separately and trimmed all separately too. So not only is it cut the first one off, it's cut the first 7 inches off, press, then cut your fur pieces out. Then it's sew the next strip. Then it's cut the 7 inches off of that, press, cut the 4 pieces. We're doing both of those steps all at once. However, we could still do that and then press the directions that it says in the instructions, so we could kind of still stick with this. Although it would be fun just because to do it completely how the instructions are. Again, just to see what we're missing again, I guess. That would be kind of interesting, I think. All right, let's sew that last strip so we can get this guy off the machine. Alright, what is this one? Ooh, I got two here. Ooh, let's do the bright, bright green. Oh, I got like 3 here. Okay. 2 out of 3 of them were the bright green, so let's do the bright, bright green. Ooh, that's so fun! Ooh, it'll be right back, right next to all these little greens, so it's a good transition. That makes sense. Fun. So bright. Ooh, I'm getting a little sloppy there, but I'm sure it'll be fine. All these other ones were okay. All right, let's press this. Just a press and a trim, and we are done. I think we're consistently about 15 minutes long on these granny square blocks. So they must take like an hour. The hour and 15 is what it's taken me to do each one of these blocks. And have time to yammer and chit-chat too. Oh, it's so fun. Man, I am getting these puckers in a lot of these though. We'll have to see if that gets solved by doing it the old way. Right, I'm gonna rotate it. Ah! It just, you see it instantly, like we've been working on it as the diamond, but you turn it so it's that square. Wow, look at this big band of white. I think that is so cool. This is a really interesting one, I think. I mean, I kind of say that about all of them, don't I? But it is just fun. This one's going to be cool in the quilt, I think, just all that light. Okay, let's trim it up. And that will be that. Another one done. We're going to be in the 20s after tomorrow. That'll be fun. All right. Let's line this up to get the 9 inches. So someone asked about this last night, and I didn't see the comments until after it was done, but they were wondering, like, why aren't we cutting it to 8.5 inches? Because it's supposed to be 8.5-inch blocks. There's a funny thing in quilt instructions sometimes where it says a finished and an unfinished size. Maybe this has something to do with it. So the finished size is not the size that you cut this to. The finished size is what is the size of the block when it is sewn into a quilt. So that means we have sewn all of our raw edges. And to sew an edge, you lose a 1/4 inch from the seam allowance on that side. So, once we have straight lines here, it's called an unfinished block, even though we're done with the block. An unfinished block just means that it's not sewn into the quilt yet. So it's got the raw edge. The finished block is when it's sewn into the quilt and you lose a 1/4 inch here and you lose a 1/4 inch here, and the other sides as well. So we're going to cut it to 9 inches, and it will turn into a finished 8.5-inch square. And I'll have to read the instructions again, but I'm guessing that is the intention of this quilt, to have 8.5-inch finished blocks, meaning we cut it to 9, then when we lose all those seam allowances, it'll end up being 8.5 inches. So if that makes sense, but that is so confusing. I know a lot of people, when we did the first Splendid Sampler quilt, that was a big confusion point for a lot of people. I am way kind of off on. Maybe I'm not. Yeah, I'm a little off. I think I sewed my seam allowances a little tight this time. This is a little bit big, But yeah, so that was I'm remembering that question from last night now. It is confusing. So we're cutting it at 9 inches for the intention of it to end up being 8.5 inches. But a lot of times, you'll be reading, oh, it's an 8.5 inch block all the time. So it's odd when at this point we're cutting it larger than that. But that's what's going on. It's the unfinished versus finished, which is, I think, a poor term. It should be not in the quilt and in the quilt. Those should be the terms. And it's just so silly because, we're going to end up with a block that is finished here, like meaning complete, but it is actually an unfinished block, meaning it's not in the completed quilt yet. All right, so here is our unfinished block. The unfinished size being the 9 inches. When it's finished and in the quilt, we will have lost those 1/4 inches on each side. Because that'll be our seam allowance. So these will all be tucked in. And that's also why we're not cutting right up to the points on these. It's, I think, the instinct to cut right on these points. Because then we get that cute little triangle. It's supposed to be how it looks. It will be once we sew it onto another block, because we will lose this. It'll be folded over, and then we should get, in theory, our perfect little points there. But yeah, so that's the deal. I think it's looking so cute. I like this one. Actually, last night's was a lot like this one, where it was very light. Let's look at last night's. Gosh, actually, now I'm looking at it. These are super duper similar, aren't they? We'll have to make sure that these are far away from each other in the quilt, because they are really similar. We got this very light band and then a very dark inside. But even being a similar motif, they do have their differences. That's kind of fun. All right, you guys, let's flip around here. Okay, so let's take a look again. Let me find a block that's super different from both of these. It's just kind of fun comparing them. So it is kind of bizarre that both of those turned out so similar. But yeah, so now here's tonight's and a different night's. Like, look how different those are. I mean, look at all of that darkness next to the light. Like, these would be really cool next to each other, those ones. And then, I mean, like, here's another one that's completely different. I mean, look, that's got a really checkerboardy effect on it. That's what's so exciting about these blocks, just how each one is their own. It's just so fun. This has definitely been one of my most enjoyable quilts to work on, I think, and just how all those strips sewn together and then magically they become this kind of checkerboard. That's just when you can add those little magic tricks on, like, how did they do that into there? I always am thrilled with those little tricks, those secret superpowers when you know what's up with it. Well, awesome. Thank you guys again. And thanks for your subscribes and your likes. I definitely appreciate that. And just for chatting with me. I mean, all your comments. And I mean, this is what's fun about these lives versus, just only doing the non-lives. It's just fun to talk to you guys. So awesome, you guys. We'll do this again tomorrow. Tomorrow we'll take a look at the machine, oil it, see where there's grease living, say hi to it, and we'll sew another one of these blocks. So we'll be here a little bit longer tomorrow. I'm stoked though. So thanks again, and I'll see you then. Good night.